Hello everyone and welcome to Palworld, the brand new survival crafting game that blends traditional genre mechanics with Pokemon-like catching and leveling mechanics of creative and cute monsters. I've been able to play many hours of this game so far and I'm having a blast doing it, but there are a lot of things that the game isn't too clear about relaying to you, which is pretty typical of this genre in general. Not a lot of hand-holding in survival games, but I wanted to drop some of my tips after hours of investment that might help save you just a little bit of time and frustration. So let's get into my list of things I wish I knew at level 1. First, let me give you a brief synopsis of the core gameplay loop. This is going to be your bread and butter. If you're ever lost or confused on what to do next, then this is your template for all of your gameplay for the first several hours. The game is basically structured like this. You level up your personal character by simply doing stuff. Yeah, it's mega easy, right? Chop down trees, cook meals, build a small hut to live in, smack around some pals you find roaming out there in the wild and pick up what they drop. All of these things, including even the actions of your pals on their own accord, all of that will grant you XP. XP levels up your character, and each time you level up, you can choose to spend a skill point on your individual character to upgrade things like your maximum HP, your attack strength, your carrying capacity, the speed that you can craft and build at, and more. So make sure you're spending those points as you level up. But each time you level up, you'll also earn a number of technology points. These are then spent in your technology tab to unlock new base items that you can craft and build. These range from workbenches to repair stations, pickaxes to wood axes, bows and arrows to building templates and components, beds for you, beds for your pals. There's a lot to choose from. So basically, you do stuff, you level up, you spend points, and now you've increased the amount of stuff that you can do, and you repeat. Now that's obviously very reductive, so let me explain some of the more core intricacies of this loop. One of the first things you're going to want to do is set up a base. When you construct a PAL box, that will be the new central node in your new base. So make sure that you put it in a good location. And speaking of which, let me give you some advice on where to put it. I decided to put mine right next to a cliff. I did this thinking, hey, this will be a great idea. This is a smart play, since that means my base can only be assaulted from one side, making the base defense much easier. But what I found is that since the PAL station marks the center of a radius that you can now build in, I wasted a lot of real estate on open air over a cliff that I can't build on. I should have put it in the middle of the ground far away from the cliff. I also noticed that flat ground is really important because some builds will literally sink into the ground when you build them and you can barely see them. They're submerged under the Earth's surface. You can always build foundations to level out the ground, but some items I like building on grass because it looks more natural, like pens for animals and farm plots, so just bear that in mind. Now let's talk about your PAL management system. When you go to the PAL box, you can put PALs in 3 different places. You can put them in general storage, where they'll just be sitting inside the computer, not generating XP, not helping run your base. It's important to store PALs sometimes because you don't want them to get too high in their level. If a PAL starts to outpace you in their leveling, you're level 8 but they're level 12, they'll stop obeying you and they won't be very helpful around the base either. So PALs do tend to gain XP faster than your personal character does, so you'll have to store them from time to time and cycle new PALs into your party and your base. The second place you can assign a PAL is in your party. This means they'll be traveling with you wherever you go. They'll be gaining XP as you perform any actions out there in the wild, like fighting and capturing PALs, chopping down trees, harvesting resources. They'll also pitch in around the base when you're home, so any PAL in your party will go right to work when you get home without taking up a slot in your PAL base roster. They're always trying to please you, their good and gracious master. The third place you can assign a PAL is in your base slot. Leveling up your base gives you additional slots, so more on that in a second, but any PAL assigned to your base will go right to work either in the day or in the nighttime if they're nocturnal. It's important to check your Pokedex, your PAL index, to see what each PAL is capable of doing at home. Our friendly, fiery fox pal can cook meals or refine ore. Just queue up meals and ore in the furnace and the campfire, and he'll run around completing the tasks that you queued up for him. There's a penguin named Pengullet who will water plants for you, very helpful if you're raising berries in a patch. Each pal will have symbols highlighted when you look at their info sheets in your pal index that correspond to tasks around the base. So diversify your base pals so you have a wide range of chores covered. Now let's talk about leveling up your base. There are two main ways of enhancing your home base. The first is by leveling up your character and spending technology points to unlock new crafting recipes. Some recipes will be blurred out and labeled as locked, even if your level is high enough to see the full tier of options. This means that you haven't caught the right pal yet to see this item. These items, they might include saddles for mounts, handles for using some pals as gliders, and even a harness to pick up your firefox and use them as a flamethrower. So make sure you're going out and catching at least one of every new pal that you discover out in the wild. The second way you level up your base is by doing missions highlighted by the PAL box. This will give you a short list of things to build at your base, and when you've done them all, you can come back to the PAL box and level up your base to the next tier. This will usually grant you an additional PAL slot to have another PAL assigned to running your base. A couple more quick tips about bases before we move on to PALs, dungeons, and region bosses. Make sure you not only build storage containers, but also store some of the base materials in the game in whatever container you want them to gather in, because your pals, they will follow your lead. So if you want wood in a specific container, put all your wood in that container, and then anytime a pal harvests wood, they will pick it up and carry it to that same container and add it to your stack. So you get to pick where you want these things to be stored. Keep raw food ingredients in a container next to your campfires and feeding troughs. Keep ores and charcoal next to your furnace. Keep cloth and wood next to your crafting bench. And your pals will follow suit and know where to put everything. Also, pals can be temperamental. They may feel overworked or underappreciated. If you want them to work at peak efficiency, then you'll need to cover their needs. Have a bed for every pal currently employed at your base so they can rest comfortably. Keep food in the feeding troughs for them. Give them some affection every now and then while you see them working hard. And when you level up your base enough, make sure that you have a nice hot spa for them to take a break in and soak every now and then. They've earned it. Sometimes pals can find themselves in tricky places. One of my pals kept falling off the cliff behind my base. If that happens, you can manually reset them by simply going to the pal box and removing them from the base roster and then adding them right back into it. Alright, let's move on to combat and exploration. There's a lot to discover here. The game has 111 pals on launch for you to find and capture. I recommend capturing any new pal you encounter unless their level is considerably higher than your own. Anytime you catch a new pal, make sure you check your pal index to see what skills they possess and what their potential drops are when you kill one. They just might drop a material that you've been hunting for in order to build that new thing back at your base. You'll also find pal souls left over from dead pals, laying around out there, as well as these glowing totems that you can collect. Now these are very important, these two items. Collect these and take them back to your base. At your base, you can build a pal statue of power. Once built, you can choose from two menus. You can enhance your character or enhance your pals. Use the pal souls as currency to make your favorite pals more efficient workers or more powerful attackers or have higher defense in battle. Or use the glowing totems that you find to enhance your character's skills, like their effectiveness at capturing pals in the wild. While you're exploring out there, you'll also find orange glowing statues. These are fast travel waypoints. You just have to walk up and activate them in order to be able to use them for fast travel purposes. Now I should mention, capturing pals is literally exactly the same as capturing Pokemon. You weaken the pal with attacks from you and your active party pals, then you throw the pal sphere, which is a Pokeball, when their health is low. The ball will wiggle and show you a percentage chance that you'll capture them successfully. The stronger the pal, the more likely it is that you'll have to use multiple spheres to capture them. There are normal spheres and enhanced spheres, basically like Pokeballs, Great Balls, and Ultra Balls, so save your better balls for tougher pals. Also, this is a big tip. If you want to capture a new pal, make sure you recall your current pal before the fight is over. If you don't recall them, they're likely just going to keep pounding away at that pal that you want to capture until they're dead. And a dead body in a Pokeball does you no good. So recall your pal so you can capture the new one more easily. Now you can attack too. You've got spears, clubs, bats, various types of bows, and eventually even guns. But your pals are your heavy hitters. They're going to learn some new attacks as they level up. Many of them will unlock special skills that you can activate mid-combat. So in some fights, the best thing for you to do is simply just to be a distraction for the enemy while your pal pounds away at them. Some elements are more effective, just like Pokemon types are strong or weak against other specific kinds of Pokemon. Now let's talk dungeons. These are caves that you find out there while exploring. They'll tell you up front what the highest level enemy will be inside the dungeon, so you know if you're ready for it or not. Once inside, there will be new resources to harvest, new pals that you never saw on the surface, human combatants to take down, glowing chests to open full of rare loot, and a final glowing boss to fight. They'll have rare materials on them worth grabbing. You'll also find towers that help launch your progress forward, but the bosses at the top of them are very challenging to say the least. You'll need to learn their attack patterns, their movesets, and leverage your dodge appropriately, but you'll also need to level up a lot before taking these bosses on. They have a lot of health and big damage. So bring your best pals to the fight, make sure your gear is all in top shape too, and diversify your team as well. Otherwise, you're gonna get your butt kicked. Okay, well, I think I've covered all the tips that I wanted to share with you today to help you get started. Remember to kill a bunch of sheep and chickens for easy access to cooking ingredients too. Food is helpful on the road as your pals will get plenty hungry out there. Thanks for watching my video today. If you found it helpful, then do me a favor and leave a like on it, as that's the best free way to support the content here on YouTube and help it get out there for more people to see. If you want to see more Palworld content, then let me know in the comments, as I'm sure I'll continue to play this game. Feel free to hit the sub button for any future content. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.